Now the house is ours. Brad whispered it during the closing hymn. Thought I couldn't hear him over the organ, but the acoustics in St. Michael's carry every sound up to the front pew. My daughter squeezed his hand, smiled. At her mother's funeral. I turned back to Martha's casket and made a decision that would cost them everything they thought they'd inherited. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The service ended at 2:15. I know because I watched people check their phones during the recessional. Martha would have hated that. She would have hated a lot of things about that day. Jennifer didn't cry. Not during the service, not during the burial. She stood next to Brad in a black dress that probably cost more than Martha's hospital bills for the last week. Professional makeup, hair done. She looked like she was attending a networking event. "Dad," she hugged me at the gravesite. Brief, efficient. "You should come stay with us tonight. You shouldn't be alone." "I'll be fine. Brad and I insist." She glanced at her husband. He nodded. Solemn expression perfectly calibrated. "We've already made up the guest room. The guest room. In my house. The house I'd built with my own hands in 1985. The house where I'd carried Martha over the threshold. Where we'd raised Jennifer. Where Martha had died 3 days ago holding my hand." "I'll be fine," I repeated. Brad stepped forward, put his hand on my shoulder. "Frank, your family. Let us take care of you." 20 people stood within earshot. All watching, waiting to see if the grieving widower would accept comfort from his loving daughter and son-in-law. "I appreciate it, but I need to be in my own space tonight." Jennifer's mouth tightened. Just for a second. Then the sympathetic smile returned. "Of course. We understand. But we'll check on you tomorrow, okay?" They didn't check on me tomorrow. They showed up with a real estate agent. I was sitting at the kitchen table when I heard the car doors, 10:30 in the morning. I'd been up since 5, going through Martha's things, her reading glasses on the nightstand, her coffee mug in the sink. I'd washed it twice already, but couldn't bring myself to put it away. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jennifer, Brad, and a woman in a burgundy blazer holding a tablet. "Dad, this is Sharon Westbrook. She's with Premier Properties." Jennifer walked past me into my living room. Brad and Sharon followed. "Sharon, this is my father, Frank Morrison." Sharon extended her hand. "Mr. Morrison, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your daughter has told me wonderful things about this property." "Has she?" Sharon specializes in estate sales. Brad settled onto my couch like he owned it. "Given the circumstances, we thought it would be helpful to get a professional assessment." I looked at Jennifer. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Assessment of what?" "The house, Dad." Jennifer sat next to Brad. "We need to discuss logistics. You can't maintain this place by yourself." "I've maintained it for 40 years. That was with Mom." Her voice went soft. Gentle, the tone she used with difficult clients. "Things are different now." Sharon tapped her tablet. "Mr. Morrison, I've done a preliminary analysis based on comparable sales in the area. This property sits on 0.8 acres, correct? 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, original hardwood throughout. I'm not selling my house." "No one's saying you have to." Brad leaned forward, clasped his hands. "But we should explore options. The equity here could fund a really nice assisted living situation." "I don't need assisted living. I'm 68 years old." 68 and recently widowed. Jennifer reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "Dad, be realistic. Who's going to help you with maintenance? Yard work? What if something happens and you're here alone?" "I'll manage." "The property's assessed at $340,000. Sharon swiped her tablet. "In the current market, we could list at $375 and expect offers within 2 weeks. I built this house. I'm not leaving it." "Dad," Jennifer stood, walked to the window, overlooking the backyard. "Mom made me promise to take care of you. This is me taking care of you. Your mother died 3 days ago." "I know. And I've barely had time to grieve because I'm trying to handle everything. The funeral arrangements, the medical bills, your future care needs." She turned to face me. "Someone has to think practically." "I'm thinking practically. This is my home." Brad exchanged a glance with Sharon. "Frank, maybe we should discuss the financial realities. Martha's medical expenses over the last 6 months were considerable. The estate—" "Get out." Silence. "I'm sorry?" Brad's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "I said get out of my house. All of you." Sharon stood quickly. "I'll wait in the car." "Dad, you're being irrational." Jennifer didn't move. "We're trying to help. By selling my house out from under me, 3 days after burying my wife? By preventing you from making decisions you're not equipped to make right now. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly." I walked to the front door, opened it. Out. Brad stood, adjusted his tie. "We'll give you some time to calm down, but Jennifer's right. These conversations need to happen." "No, they don't." Jennifer stopped in the doorway. "The house is too much for you. You know that. Mom would want you taken care of." "Your mother would want me in my own home." "My mother's dead." She said it flat, matter of fact. "And we're the ones left dealing with reality." They left. Sharon's burgundy sedan pulled away first, then Brad's Lexus. I closed the door, stood in my living room. The living room where Jennifer had opened Christmas presents for 23 years, where Martha and I had danced to Glenn Miller records, where Martha had slept in the hospital bed those last 2 weeks because she'd wanted to see her garden through the window. I looked around at the oak trim I'd milled myself, the built-in bookshelves I'd constructed the winter Jennifer turned 7, the fireplace where I'd proposed to Martha 42 years ago. Then I walked to my office and opened the filing cabinet. The house title was in the second drawer, Frank and Martha Morrison. Purchased 1985. I'd paid it off in 2001. 16 years of double payments and extra shifts at the plant. I pulled out the life insurance paperwork. Martha's policy, $200,000. Beneficiary, Frank Morrison. We'd set it up when Jennifer was born. Never changed it. Then I found the folder I was really looking for, the one I'd started keeping 4 years ago, after Thanksgiving 2019. That was when I'd overheard Brad and Jennifer in the kitchen. I'd been in the garage, coming in through the side door. They hadn't heard me. "Just saying, when they're both gone, this property alone is worth—" "Brad, Jesus, can we not?" "I'm being practical, Jen. Your dad's pension, the life insurance, this house. We're talking 7, maybe 800,000 in assets. The twins' college fund would be completely set. They're not dead yet." "I know, I'm just saying. Long-term planning." I'd stood in that doorway for 30 seconds, then walked back to the garage. Made noise. Came in again, loudly. After that, I'd started documenting. Conversations. Visits. Every time Jennifer called, I noted the date and what she wanted. Not wanted to talk about. Wanted. The folder was thick now. 4 years of evidence that I'd been a wallet, not a father. I pulled out my phone. Took photos of every document. The title, the insurance policy, the folder contents. Uploaded them to the cloud. Backed them up twice. Then I called my lawyer. Michael Patterson had handled our wills back in 2010. Old school attorney. Office downtown above the hardware store. "Frank, I was so sorry to hear about Martha. I need to update my will. Today if possible." Pause. "It's Saturday." "I know. I'll pay double your hourly rate. Let me call you back." He called back in 6 minutes. "Come to my house. Bring your current will and any documents you want to discuss. I'll have my paralegal meet us there." I drove to Michael's place in Riverside Heights. Nice neighborhood. Big trees. He met me at the door with coffee already poured. We sat at his dining room table. His paralegal, a young woman named Amanda, had a laptop open. "What are we changing?" Michael pulled on reading glasses. "Everything. My daughter is currently the primary beneficiary and executor. I want her removed from both." Michael set down his coffee. "Frank, I have to ask, is this grief talking? Because making major estate decisions right after losing a spouse. She showed up this morning with a real estate agent, tried to sell my house. 3 days after the funeral." "I see. He pulled out a legal pad. Who do you want as executor? You, if you'll do it. I will. And beneficiaries? I want to establish a charitable trust. Whatever's left after I'm gone goes to the hospice that cared for Martha. And to the food bank. Split evenly. Amanda's fingers paused over her keyboard. No family members at all? No. Michael studied me. Jennifer will contest this. Let her. She might have grounds if she can prove undue influence or diminished capacity. Then I want a cognitive evaluation. The full battery. Documented proof that I'm of sound mind. That takes weeks to schedule. I'll pay for expedited service. I want it done before she comes back, because she will come back. Michael nodded slowly. Okay. Amanda, draft a new will with Frank as testator, me as executor, and the charitable trust as primary beneficiary. I'll call Dr. Reeves about the evaluation. We spent 2 hours going through everything. Assets, accounts, property, personal effects. By the time I left, I had a draft will in my hand and an appointment with a neuropsychologist for Monday morning. Jennifer called that night. I didn't answer. She called again Sunday morning. Left a voicemail. Dad, I'm sorry about yesterday. We shouldn't have ambushed you, but we really need to talk about practical matters. Brad and I have been discussing it, and we think the best solution is for you to move in with us. We have the space, and the twins would love having Grandpa around. Please call me back. The twins, Aiden and Zoe, age 6. I'd met them exactly 9 times. Birthday parties, Christmas, Easter once. Jennifer usually had an excuse for why I couldn't babysit. Too far to drive. Kids' schedules were packed. They were in a routine. Truth was simpler. I was useful for checks, not childcare. I pulled up my banking app, started scrolling through transfers. Jennifer's name appeared every month for the last 8 years, sometimes twice a month. March 2023, $1,500. Transmission repair. January 2023, $2,200. Property tax shortfall. November 2022, $800. Furnace maintenance. September 2022, $3,000. School tuition gap. I kept scrolling. The amounts blurred together. Big emergencies and small gaps. Car payments. Insurance premiums. Medical bills. The twins' preschool. Dance lessons. Soccer league. June 2021, $15,000. Down payment assistance for their current house. April 2020, $8,000. Brad's business loan when his consulting LLC needed startup capital. December 2019, $12,000. Property tax bailout when Brad's contract fell through. I opened my spreadsheet program, created columns, date, amount, purpose. Started entering everything. It took 3 hours. When I finished, I stared at the total. $183,400. $183,400 in 8 years, not counting the wedding. That was another $28,000. Jennifer had wanted a destination wedding in Charleston. Martha had cried, but we'd paid for it. Flights, hotel blocks, rehearsal dinner, open bar, not counting the smaller stuff, birthday gifts, Christmas. The weekly Sunday dinners where they'd show up hungry and leave with containers of leftovers Martha had spent the day preparing, not counting the time. The babysitting requests that came through at 7 p.m. on Friday. The emergency pickups from school when Jennifer's meetings ran late. The twins' doctor appointments that somehow only Grandma could take them to. Martha had never complained. She'd loved having them around. But I'd watched her rearrange her volunteer schedule, skip her book club, cancel lunch with friends. Always available, always accommodating. And after every visit, after every crisis Jennifer needed help with, there'd been silence. Days would pass. Sometimes weeks. Then a text. Hey Dad, can you... I saved the spreadsheet, labeled it Family Investments, backed it up to the cloud. Monday morning, I met with Dr. Helen Reeves at her office in the medical complex. She was in her 50s. Professional, but warm. Mr. Morrison, I understand you're requesting a cognitive evaluation. I want it documented that I'm mentally competent. May I ask why? I'm making estate changes. I expect they'll be challenged. I see. She pulled out a tablet. This assessment will take approximately 3 hours. We'll evaluate memory, executive function, judgment, and decision-making capacity. Are you comfortable with that? Yes. The tests were exhausting. Pattern recognition, memory exercises, problem-solving scenarios. She asked me to repeat number sequences backward, name as many animals as I could in 60 seconds, draw a clock face showing 3:15. I did all of it. At the end, she compiled her notes. Mr. Morrison, I'll have a full report within 48 hours, but I can tell you preliminarily that your cognitive function is excellent. Above average for your age group, in fact. You'll document that? Of course. With your permission, I'll send a copy to your attorney as well. Please do. I stopped at the bank on the way home, spoke to the branch manager, removed Jennifer as joint account holder on my checking and savings. She'd been added years ago, back when Martha was sick, and we'd thought it would be helpful to have someone else able to access funds in an emergency. The emergency had passed. The access remained. Are you sure about this, Mr. Morrison? The manager looked uncomfortable. Family accounts are usually beneficial for estate planning. I'm sure. It will take effect immediately. Ms. Morrison will no longer have access or visibility to these accounts. Good. I got home at 2. Found Jennifer's car in my driveway. She was sitting on the front porch. Stood when I pulled in. Dad, we need to talk. I don't have anything to say to you. Well, I have things to say. She followed me to the door. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be. I unlocked the door. She walked in behind me. We've been thinking, if you won't move in with us, what about a reverse mortgage? You could stay in the house and access the equity for living expenses. I don't need living expenses. I have my pension and Social Security. But the house maintenance is manageable. Dad. She sat at the kitchen table. Same table where we'd had this conversation a dozen times over the years. Different topics, same condescending tone. Let me be blunt. This house is too big. You're going to hurt yourself trying to maintain it. And when that happens, when you fall or have a medical emergency, you'll end up in a facility anyway. Except by then, the house will need expensive repairs, and you'll have to sell at a loss. You've given this a lot of thought. Someone has to. When did you start thinking about it? Last week? Last month? 4 years ago at Thanksgiving? She blinked. What? When they're both gone, this property alone is worth... That's what Brad said. In my kitchen. 4 years ago. Her face went carefully neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. You were both in there doing math, adding up me and your mother like assets on a balance sheet. Dad, you're misremembering. I've been tracking every conversation we've had for 4 years, every request, every dollar, every time you called asking for help and then disappeared for weeks. She stood. That's paranoid. Is it? How much money have I given you since you got married? We'd have to look. $183,400, not counting the wedding, not counting Christmas and birthday gifts, not counting the value of all the free childcare your mother provided. Jennifer's mouth opened, closed. You kept track? I did. That's insane. That's not what family does. Family doesn't keep score. You're right. Family doesn't. But apparently, I wasn't family. I was an investment vehicle. How dare you? Her voice went cold. After everything we've done for you. What have you done for me specifically? Silence. You visited 6 times last year. Christmas Day for 3 hours, Easter for 2, Mother's Day for 90 minutes, Thanksgiving for 4 hours, Mom's birthday in June, you stayed for dinner, and one Sunday in September when you needed to borrow the truck. We have busy lives. You live 12 miles away. You have busy lives. But you had time to show up with a real estate agent 3 days after the funeral. We were trying to help. No, you were trying to liquidate. She grabbed her purse. I came here to have a rational conversation, but clearly you're not capable of that right now. You're grieving. You're not thinking straight. I'm thinking very straight. That's the problem. Brad was right. We should have brought someone from the county. You need a competency evaluation. Already did that. Scored above average. She stopped at the door. You what? Cognitive evaluation. Full battery. Dr. Helen Reeves administered it this morning. I'm mentally sound and legally competent to manage my affairs. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You're unbelievable. Mom's been gone less than a week and you're already tearing this family apart. I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm just done being an ATM. An ATM? Jesus Christ, Dad, we're your family. Family visits. Family calls just to talk. Family shows up when someone dies and asks how you're doing, not how much the house is worth. She left without another word. Engine started. Tires on gravel. I sat in the quiet house. The clock ticked. Same clock that had been on that wall for 28 years. Martha had bought it at an estate sale. Victorian era. Still kept perfect time. My phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. I'm calling Adult Protective Services. You clearly can't make sound decisions right now. I took a screenshot, added it to my folder. She called APS that afternoon. I know because a caseworker named Linda Sullivan showed up Tuesday morning. Mr. Morrison? I'm Linda Sullivan from Adult Protective Services. May I come in? I let her in, offered coffee. She accepted. I received a call from your daughter. She's concerned about your welfare. Is she? Linda pulled out a folder. Professional but kind. Mid-40s. Probably dealt with this situation weekly. She indicated you've been making erratic decisions since your wife's death. Removing her from bank accounts, refusing reasonable assistance. She's worried about your cognitive state. I had a full cognitive evaluation yesterday. I can provide documentation. That would be helpful. She pulled out a form. I still need to do my own assessment. Standard procedure. Can you tell me what day it is? Tuesday, October 16th, 2024. Who's the current president? I answered. She asked a dozen more questions. My address, my doctor's name, my daughter's name. Basic math. Recent events. Finally, she set down her pen. Mr. Morrison, I'm not seeing any cause for concern. You're oriented to time and place. Your home is clean and well maintained. You're clearly able to care for yourself. My daughter will disagree. Your daughter is welcome to disagree, but I can't file a report recommending intervention when there's no evidence of impairment or neglect. She stood. However, I am going to note in my report that you recently suffered a significant loss, and I'm going to recommend you consider grief counseling. I'll think about it. I'm also going to suggest you work on communication with your daughter. These family disputes often escalate. Mediation might help. After she left, I called Michael Patterson. APS cleared me. Can Jennifer still challenge the will? She can challenge anything, but without evidence of diminished capacity, she won't have grounds, especially with the cognitive eval and APS clearance. What's her next move? Probably try to prove undue influence, claim someone's manipulating you, or she might go for a financial review. Try to show you're being exploited. No one's exploiting me. I'm alone in this house. Then document everything, every interaction, every conversation. If she shows up, record it if Virginia's a one-party consent state, which it is. Jennifer didn't show up. Brad did. Thursday afternoon, I was in the garage, organizing Martha's gardening tools. Couldn't bring myself to throw them away yet. Frank. Brad stood in the driveway, hands in his pockets. Casual. Got a minute? Depends what for. Just want to talk, man to man. I set down the pruning shears. Okay. He walked into the garage, looked around at the tools on pegboards, the workbench I'd built in 1987. You've got a nice setup here. What do you want, Brad? Jennifer's upset. I'm sure you know that. I do. She loves you. She's trying to help, and you're shutting her out. She showed up with a real estate agent. Because she's worried about you rattling around in this big house alone. That's not malicious. That's concern. 3 days after Martha died. Maybe the timing was bad, but the concern is real. He picked up a hammer, examined it, set it down. Frank, I'm going to level with you. Jennifer's hurt, and when she's hurt, she can be reactive. Is that a threat? It's a warning. From someone who cares about family peace. He met my eyes. She's talking about getting a lawyer, challenging your competency formally, taking this to probate court. Let her. It'll be expensive and public. Your private business aired out for the whole town to see. Is that what Martha would have wanted? Don't use my wife to manipulate me. I'm not manipulating. I'm being honest. Jennifer feels betrayed. She thinks you're cutting her out of spite. I'm not cutting her out. There's nothing to cut her out of. I'm leaving my estate to charity. Brad's expression flickered. Your what? The hospice that cared for Martha. The food bank. They'll split whatever's left. You're kidding. I'm not. Frank. He stepped closer. That's not rational. Jennifer's your daughter, your only child. Which is why I've given her $183,000 over the last 8 years. I figure that's her inheritance. She got it early. That was help. That was being a father. And this is also being a father. Teaching a lesson about gratitude. Brad's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. My mistake to make. She's going to fight this. Probably. And she's going to win. No judge will uphold a will that disinherits an only child out of spite. It's not spite. It's choice. My choice. About my property. He turned to leave. Stopped. You're a stubborn old man, and you're going to end up alone. I'm already alone. Martha's dead, and Jennifer's been gone a lot longer than 3 days. He left. Stood in the garage, surrounded by Martha's tools. The trowel she'd used to plant tomatoes every spring. The gloves with dirt still on the fingertips. The knee pad worn thin from 40 years of gardening. She'd died on a Tuesday. Early morning. The hospice nurse had called it a peaceful passing. But there was nothing peaceful about watching your wife of 42 years take her last breath. I'd held her hand, said goodbye, then sat with her body for an hour before calling anyone. Just sat, holding her hand, feeling it go cold. When I finally called Jennifer, she'd answered on the 4th ring. Dad? Is it Mom? She's gone. Silence. Then, Okay, Brad and I will head over. Give us an hour. They showed up in 90 minutes. Jennifer hugged me, cried a little, then started making phone calls. Funeral home, relatives, their pastor. She'd been efficient. I remembered that now. Not grief-stricken. Efficient. Brad had made coffee, sat me down, asked about insurance policies and medical bills. At the time, I'd thought they were being helpful, taking care of arrangements so I could grieve. Now I realized they'd been taking inventory. My phone rang. Jennifer. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Dad, we need to meet, with lawyers present if that's what you want, but we need to resolve this. There's nothing to resolve. You're being unreasonable and hurtful. I'm your daughter. You're someone who called APS on her father for removing her from his bank account. I was worried about you. You were worried about your access to my money. That's not, her voice cracked. How can you think that, after everything? After everything I've given you, quantifiably, with dates and amounts. This isn't about money. Then why did you bring a real estate agent to my house 3 days after your mother's funeral? Silence. That's what I thought. I hung up. The legal letter arrived Friday. Morrison and Associates. Jennifer's lawyer. Formal demand for cognitive evaluation by court-appointed psychiatrist. Request for financial records. Suggestion of mediation. I forwarded it to Michael Patterson. He called within an hour. She's going for incompetency and undue influence. This is expected. What do? We respond. Provide your evaluation results. APS clearance. Bank statements showing no unusual activity. Character witnesses if you have them. What kind of character witnesses? Friends, neighbors, people who can testify you're mentally sound and acting of your own free will. I thought about that. Who would I call? Martha and I had been private people. We had neighbors we waved to, acquaintances from church, but close friends? Most had died or moved away. There's Dorothy, lives 2 doors down. We've been neighbors for 30 years. Call her. Ask if she'd be willing to provide a statement. I walked to Dorothy's house that afternoon. She was in her garden, age 72, widow. Her husband had died 5 years ago. Frank. She stood, brushed dirt from her knees. How are you holding up? Been better. Need to ask you something. We sat on her porch. I explained the situation. Not everything, but enough. Your Jennifer's trying to have you declared incompetent? That girl you put through college? Same one. What do you need from me? A statement saying I'm of sound mind, that I'm capable of managing my own affairs. I'll do better than that. I'll testify in court if it comes to it. She shook her head. I watched you care for Martha these last 6 months. That wasn't incompetence. That was devotion. Thank you. Jennifer hasn't been around much, has she? No. I noticed. Used to see her car every week, then every month, then hardly at all. Dorothy patted my hand. You're doing the right thing, whatever it is you're doing. The court hearing was scheduled for November 3rd, 3 weeks away. Jennifer called twice more. I didn't answer. She texted, Dad, please, can we talk? Just the two of us? I didn't respond. She showed up Sunday morning. I was having coffee on the back porch, watching the sun come up over Martha's garden. Dad, Jennifer stood in the yard. Please don't shut me out. You need to leave. I'm not leaving until we talk. She climbed the porch steps, sat in Martha's chair. I love you. I know you don't believe that right now, but I do. You love my bank account. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you visited when you didn't need something? She looked away. We've been busy. The twins, Brad's work, my job. You live 12 miles away. I know. Your mother died asking about you. Where's Jenny? Is she coming? I told her you were on your way. You got there 2 hours later. I came as soon as I could. You were at brunch. Dorothy saw you. She was at the same restaurant. You were having mimosas. Jennifer's face went white. We had plans. I didn't know Mom was going to die that morning. No, neither did I. But when I called, you finished your meal before coming. That's not. Your mother died at 6:47 a.m. I called you at 7:15. You showed up at 9:30. Dorothy said you were at the Garden Bistro at 8:45. Still eating. Tears ran down her face. I didn't think. The nurse said she had days. She had hours, and you had pancakes. Oh my God, Jennifer sobbed. I didn't know, Dad. I swear I didn't know. But you didn't hurry. That's the point. You didn't drop everything and rush to see your mother one last time. You finished breakfast. She cried. I didn't comfort her. After a while, she wiped her face. I can't change that. I'll regret it forever. But I'm here now. Doesn't that count? You're here now because you got a lawyer letter about my will, not because you want to see your father. That's not true. When were you going to visit if this hadn't happened? Christmas? Easter? Your next emergency? She stood. I don't deserve this. You deserve exactly this. Consequences. Something you've avoided your whole adult life. I'm your daughter. And I'm your father. Not your bank. Not your backup plan. Not your real estate investment. You're cruel. I'm honest. For the first time in years. She left. Slammed her car door. Tires squealed on the driveway. I sat in Martha's chair. The sun was fully up now. The garden needed weeding. Martha would have been out there already, hands in the dirt. I couldn't bring myself to touch it. Couldn't stand the thought of pulling up what she'd planted. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Morrison, this is Aiden Morrison. I wanted to say hi to Grandpa. I stared at the message. Aiden, my grandson, age 6. Another message. This is from Mom's phone, but she said I could text you. I miss you. I started typing a response. Stopped. Jennifer was using the kids now. That's what this was. Another text. Can we visit soon? I want to show you my Halloween costume. I turned off my phone. The hearing was in Judge Patricia Warren's courtroom. Small, wood-paneled. American flag in the corner. Jennifer sat with her lawyer. Morrison from Morrison and Associates. Young guy. Expensive suit. I sat with Michael Patterson. He wore the same suit he'd worn to Martha's funeral. Judge Warren was in her 60s. Sharp eyes. No nonsense. We're here on a petition for cognitive evaluation and possible guardianship. Ms. Morrison, you're alleging your father is not competent to manage his affairs? Morrison stood. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Frank Morrison recently removed his daughter from his bank accounts, cut off all financial support, and changed his will to exclude her entirely. This happened within days of his wife's death. We believe he's experiencing a grief-induced breakdown and requires evaluation. Mr. Patterson? Michael stood. Your Honor, Mr. Morrison has already undergone a comprehensive cognitive evaluation. With your permission, I'd like to submit Dr. Helen Reeves's report. He scored above average on all measures. Additionally, Adult Protective Services investigated and found no cause for concern. I have both reports. Judge Warren flipped through papers. Dr. Reeves indicates no cognitive impairment. APS found him capable of self-care. On what grounds are you requesting further evaluation, Mr. Morrison? The actions themselves demonstrate impairment, Your Honor. What competent person disinherits their only child without cause? What competent person decides how to distribute their own property? Morrison hesitated. The sudden nature of the changes. Mr. Morrison's wife died October 6th. He made these changes October 8th and 10th. Is there a mandatory waiting period I'm unaware of? No, Your Honor, but the timing suggests he wanted his affairs in order, which seems prudent after losing a spouse. Judge Warren looked at me. Mr. Morrison, why did you remove your daughter from your bank accounts? I stood. She showed up 3 days after my wife's funeral with a real estate agent. Tried to convince me to sell my house. Jennifer's lawyer started to object. Judge Warren held up a hand. Is this true, Ms. Morrison? Jennifer stood. Your Honor, I was trying to help. The house is too large for him alone. 3 days after your mother's funeral? Yes, but I was concerned. About your inheritance? About my father. Judge Warren looked at the papers again. Mr. Morrison, you've changed your will to leave your estate to charity. Yes, Your Honor. Why? Because I've given my daughter $183,000 over the last 8 years, plus a $28,000 wedding, plus countless hours of free childcare from my late wife. I consider that sufficient. Morrison jumped up. Your Honor, those were gifts freely given. Were they requested? Judge Warren looked at Jennifer. Yes. But Dad always offered, after you asked? Silence. Ms. Morrison, how often did you visit your parents in the last year? Jennifer looked at her lawyer. He nodded. I'm not sure exactly. I can tell you. I pulled out my folder. 6 times. Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Thanksgiving, her mother's birthday, and once to borrow my truck. You kept records? I started keeping records 4 years ago after I overheard my son-in-law calculating my net worth in my kitchen. Judge Warren's expression didn't change, but something shifted. You overheard what? Brad, my son-in-law. Thanksgiving 2019, telling Jennifer that when my wife and I were both gone, the property and life insurance would total $700,000 or $800,000. Your Honor, hearsay. Morrison started. It's not hearsay if Mr. Morrison heard it directly. Judge Warren leaned forward. Ms. Morrison, did your husband make that statement? Jennifer's face was red. I don't remember. I do. I pulled out my phone. I've documented every conversation, every financial request, every visit. 4 years of evidence that I was a resource to be managed, not a father to be loved. Morrison tried again. Your Honor, this is clearly paranoid behavior. It's clearly documented behavior, which suggests competence, not impairment. Judge Warren closed the file. I'm denying the petition. Mr. Morrison has demonstrated mental capacity through professional evaluation and APS clearance. His decision to modify his estate plan is well within his legal rights. Nothing presented today suggests incompetence. Your Honor, Morrison stood. I'm not finished. Ms. Morrison, I'm going to say something off the record, but I want you to hear it. Your father just lost his wife. Instead of supporting him, you showed up with a real estate agent. Instead of grieving with him, you're trying to take his house. If you want a relationship with your father, I suggest you start acting like a daughter instead of an heir. Judge Warren stood. We're adjourned. Jennifer sat frozen. Morrison gathered his papers, whispering urgently to her. Michael touched my arm. Let's go. We walked out of the courthouse. The November air was cold, clear. That went well, Michael said. She'll appeal. She might, but she won't win. Judge Warren's ruling is solid. What now? Now you go home. Live your life. Jennifer will either come around or she won't. I drove home. The house was quiet. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table. My phone rang. Dorothy. Frank, how'd it go? Judge denied the petition. Good. That girl needs to learn some respect. I'm not sure she's capable. Give her time. Sometimes people surprise you. I doubted it, but I didn't say that. Thanksgiving came. I spent it alone. Made a turkey sandwich, watched football, went to bed early. Christmas approached. I bought presents for Aiden and Zoe, wrapped them, put them in the closet. Jennifer didn't call. December 15th, I got a letter. Handwritten. Jennifer's handwriting. Dad, I don't know if you'll read this, but I need to say it anyway. You were right, about all of it. I did show up with a real estate agent too soon. I did call you when I needed money. I didn't visit enough, and I didn't rush to Mom's side when you called. I've been living with that guilt every day since she died. I can't fix any of it. I can only apologize and try to do better. If you'll let me, I love you. Jennifer. I read it 3 times, set it on the table, stared at it. The next day, I drove to Jennifer's house. First time I'd been there since the summer. She answered the door. Eyes red, no makeup, sweatpants, and a t-shirt. Dad, can I come in? She stepped back. The house was quiet. Kids are at school. Brad's at work. We sat in her living room. Leather furniture, big TV, photos on the wall of the twins. None of me and Martha. I read your letter. I meant every word. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Can we... She wiped her eyes. Can we try again? Start over? I don't know. I'll do better. I promise. No more asking for money. No more assumptions about the house. Just being your daughter. I looked around the room. The furniture we'd helped pay for. The house we'd helped buy. The life we'd funded. Here's what's going to happen. My will stays as it is. Estate goes to charity. That's not negotiable. Okay. If you visit, it's because you want to see me, not because you need something. Yes. And we rebuild slowly. If we rebuild at all. I understand. I loved your mother for 42 years. She died asking for you. That's not something I'm going to forget. Jennifer sobbed. I know. I'll never forgive myself. You have to find a way to, because I can't carry your guilt for you. We sat in silence. The clock ticked. Same kind of clock Martha had bought for our house. I wondered if Jennifer had bought it because she liked it, or because it reminded her of home. Can you stay for lunch? She asked. Not today. Okay. She walked me to the door. Dad, thank you for coming. I drove home. The December sky was gray, cold. The garden was dead for winter. Brown stalks and frozen ground. Inside, I made coffee, sat at the table, pulled out the Christmas presents for the twins. Maybe I'd give them to Jennifer next week. Maybe not. The house was quiet, too quiet, but it was mine, and that mattered. My phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. Would it be okay if the kids and I visited this weekend? Just to see you. No agenda. I typed, Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. She responded immediately. We'll be there. Thank you. I set down the phone, looked around my kitchen, the oak cabinets I'd built, the counters Martha had picked out, the window over the sink where she'd stood washing dishes for 40 years. This was my home, my life, what was left of it. And for the first time since Martha died, I felt like maybe that was enough. Saturday came. Jennifer showed up at 2. Brad stayed in the car. The twins ran up the porch steps. "Grandpa!" Aiden hugged my legs. Zoe hung back, shy. "Hey, buddy." I ruffled his hair. Looked at Jennifer. "Brad's not coming in?" "I thought it should just be us, if that's okay." "It's okay." We spent 2 hours together. The twins showed me drawings from school, told me about their teacher, asked if Grandma was in heaven. I said yes. Jennifer helped me make hot chocolate. We didn't talk about money or houses or the past. We talked about the twins' Christmas play, about the weather, about nothing important. When they left, Aiden hugged me again. "Can we come back?" "Anytime." After they drove away, I cleaned up the mugs, threw away the drawings they'd forgotten, sat in the quiet house. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Maybe. If you like this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.